Hello YouTube, it's Carlos the Rook, and I'm bringing you round one from North Atlanta Chess Club January Championship. This was a new place in Swanee that I went to. It's like 53 minutes from my house, so I wanted to check these guys out and see what was to it. This is a different venue from the ones I normally play at. Uh, it was inside a church, so it's very clean. It was spacious, nice room. We was on the border of a winter ice storm coming in, so it was a little cold. And I had to ask them to turn the heat up because it was kind of cold in the church, so they did accommodate that. Uh, but overall, it felt rushed to me because it was 45 minutes with 5 second time control, and I ended up getting in two time scrambles in this tournament. And like, except for the first round, which we had 30 minutes in between the rounds, the next round started immediately. So for the younger generation, this is perfect. But for me, it felt like I was doing a marathon. So I was really, really exhausted. So in round one, I'm playing my little buddy Sidha. He's rated 1964 and I'm 1781. So Sidha starts off with e4 and I respond c6 because I normally go Sicilian, so I wanted to switch up and play some different defenses, so some different looks. He go d4, and I go d5. E captures, C captures. And here he goes c4. I believe this may be the pan-off attack. I don't remember, but I haven't seen this variation in over 10 years. So I'm winging it here, and I go knight f6. He responds knight c3. So basically he's going back at that d5 pawn. And here I decide to go bishop f5 in the spirit of the Karo Khan. Get my light square bishop out before I go e6. And he goes knight f3. So now I go e6. The engine wants, Stockfish wants knight c6 here and not e6. So I go e6. And here Stockfish wants queen b3 with a nice advantage. But Sidha played bishop e2. And now it wants me to go d capture c4 or bishop b4 with an advantage for black. I play bishop e7, which is the fourth best move in the position. And Sidha castles. And once again, it wants me to go d capture c4. I go h6, giving my king some breathing room, keeping the knight. In case the knight goes to h4, my idea was my bishop can drop down to h7, keeping it alive. And see how it goes bishop f4. And so now I castle. And that turns out to be a very bad move. It gives white only a 0.21 advantage. And Sidha plays c5, which gives him a positional advantage. Because now he's going to have 3 pawns on my 2. So I go knight c6, which is the best move in the position. And Sidha plays a3. His idea is to storm them pawns on the queen side. And the engine wants knight e4 here. I don't understand that. Just breaking the pawn structure like that. Oh, knight e4. If knight captures, pawn captures, knight moves, knight captures. I see it now. So this is what the engine wants. Knight e4, knight captures, pawn captures. If knight captures, and it just disrupts white's setup. I see it now. So I went queen d7. And see how it goes bishop b5, pinning the knight. And I go bishop g4, pinning his knight in turn. and he captures. And I capture on F3, and it gives an error. White is now have a 2.12 advantage. At the time, I didn't think there was an error. The engine wanted me to capture B cap C6, followed by H3, bishop F5. The engine said that would have been best in the position. And it's saying queen captures F3 is wrong. Let me see what the engine wanted here. It wanted bishop captures D7, bishop captures D1, C6. Hold on. So knight captures D7, C captures B7. Oh. Wow, we both missed this. C captures B7, and that pawn is going to advance. The rook got to move because the rook is on pre. Once the rook moves, let's say to D8, and they say that's the only move, rook on A to D8. Well, I can capture this bishop now. They won with the F rook and not the A rook. And now this pawn is coming in. You're going to have to put the knight there. Yeah, knight B8 is the only move. And now they're saying knight B5, hitting this pawn. They want rook D7, knight captures A7, rook captures B7, bishop captures B8, rook on F captures B8, knight C6, hitting that bishop, and a rook. Ooh. Rook to A8, get down the way of the knight. Knight captures E7, rook captures E7, and then king F1. Yeah. Oh, wow. Both me and Sihai missed this line. This would have been completely winning for him. And we just both missed it. That's just completely winning. Two connected pass pawns on the queen side. And those were a lot of only moves. So back to queen D7. Or no, it's bishop capture F3. Queen captures F3. And I take back with the queen. Initially, I was thinking about taking with the B pawn. And the engine wants that because I wanted to put some pressure on the B file. But this bishop is just dominating that, so my rook cannot come to the B file. I wanted to slide a rook over and put pressure on the B file, but I couldn't do that because of that dark square bishop. And because he got C5, my bishop cannot go to the D6 diagonal to challenge. And C5 stops that. So that shows how restrictive of a move C5 was. So that really hurt me. So he played B4 in this position. And his idea is just to push the pawns. I go A6 to stop the progress of the pawns. But he keep pushing. And here I had a long think. We only had 45 minutes for our moves. And I spent about 15 of my 45 minutes right here trying to decide, should I let him push in or should I go A5 and disrupt his pawn push? I know a5, if he captures a5, rook captures a5, and I just disrupts it. And I could double up rooks on an a file. But then you got a5, b5, and then the queen falls to d7. And I was just unsure what happens after that. But here, the engine wants knight e4. Once again, knight e4 being the better move. So I went with the a5 idea and see how I correctly replies b5. And here I should have went queen d7, but I went queen e8, which turned out to be a mistake. Now Sihar is up 2.98, and he goes b6, locking in a position on the pawns. So I go queen d7, admitting that my queen was mistakenly on e8, and he go knight b5, and his idea is knight c7. See, that's why I had to move my queen off of e8, because I would have got forked with the knight. And now I put my knight on e8, stopping his knight from coming to d6 or c7. So my knight protects those squares. And now he goes bishop e5, which I felt was an error because it walks into what I wanted. He has a queen side. He's dominating the queen side, and so I need counterplay. So I go f6. He falls back to bishop g3, and now it's e5. And my idea is he can't take because I take back hitting the queen. And I don't want to take letting his knight take. So you go rook on f to c1. And the reason is he has to protect this pawn. Because if we go back one, and let's say he take, I take, the queen needs to move in order to protect this c pawn, which is now really, really vulnerable. Then something like this, no, that's losing. Nothing like that. Here the engine saying like knight c6 or knight f6 or rook c8 holds. So that's why he moved the rook to f1. And here I wasn't really sure what to do. I don't want to capture. I don't want to go e4. I want to keep the tension, but I don't know how to build up the pressure. And the engine is saying just rook f7. And it has white up 3.31 in this position. So I was completely losing. It's a completely losing position. But I don't understand what rook f7 accomplishes. It wants rook f7, queen c3, bishop f8, rook on a to b1. I'm just not sure why we putting the rook on that file. I'll have to ask my coach about it when we have our lesson later on. So, because I didn't know what to do, I went e4. And see how it goes queen b3. I notice there's a pin right here. I go f5. My idea is f4, hitting the bishop. So he brings the bishop into e5. And I go f4, knight c3. So the knight and the queen is hitting this pawn. And I was debating between rook d8 and f3 here. The engine just went knight f6, but I thought knight f6, bishop captures f6, bishop captures, knight captures d5, and that's just completely losing. So I was thinking f3 with the idea of if he played g3, queen h3 with mate in one. That was an idea, but I didn't think he'd fall for that. f3. All you got to do is just drop back with bishop g3, or just, let's say I go f3. He can take. Hold on, what just happened? Oh, yeah. He takes. I'm forced to take because it's check. Why is that an error? Bishop f6 or bishop g5. Why is the knight capturing back an error? Hold on. Yeah, knight captures d5. I don't know, maybe the system was tweaking a little bit, but knight captures d5. And that's why I didn't play f3, because now that's just out of there. And here it wants bishop g5 hitting at the rook. And c6 just ignoring it, because you got two pawns coming. Wow. That's brutal. That is brutal. So that shows you why f3 wouldn't have worked. So here I went with rook d8, protection of the pawn, but that falls victim to knight captures e4, the pin. Now I can't capture back because this pawn is pinned. So now I got to play with down a pawn. I go knight f6. He captures, I captures. He captures, I capture with the rook. And my idea is still f3, queen h3. But he plays f3 himself, stopping that idea. So now I go g5. And my idea is g4. And just putting some pressure on the king side. And he swings rook e1. And I go with the g4 idea. And here he plays the excellent move, rook e5. And he's stopping me because I wanted to go h5, h4, h3, and just bust open the king side. And then maybe the rook on d, queen will be going to g4 and just bringing the other rook in and just trying to get a mate net on the king. But rook e5 stops that because now I cannot push this pawn. So here I didn't know what to do. So I went with queen f7. Let's see what the engine wants here. It wants rook e6. Just trading off a pair of rooks. It's completely losing, but it's saying rook e6 was the best try. I went queen f7. And my idea is, I know he's going to double up rooks and try and drop down here. I was going to bring a rook here and try and stop it. So he doubled up the rooks. And I go rook d7. So the rooks can't infiltrate here. It'll have to come down this way. And he played queen b5. And I seen here, what I seen was, let's say I go with what I did, gf3. What I thought his idea was, queen takes, check, king steps up, and you can't check. That's what I thought the idea was. So I seen the tactic, but the move order is extremely important. And he did it in a different move order than what I was looking at. Sidha went rook e8 check first. Now the difference between the variation I showed you and this variation is my king cannot go to f7. So my king has to go to g7. And now the queen takes. And he got a brilliant, chess.com gave him a brilliancy for this sacrifice. And when I take back, the rook comes down and check. I block it, he take, I take, and he just infiltrates. Because the idea now is rook here to here. And trade rooks and the pawn gets in. So my king has to run over here in order to stop that. By the time my king run over here to stop it, he just swing the rook back to the h file and hit my pawn that way, and then the h pawn is running for the races. So he goes rook c8, king e7, because I got to be able, if he goes rook c7, I got to be able to take, pawn take, and king step over to take. And now he redirects to h8, which sends me back this way, and it's over. The whole side just collapsed. Because once I move down, he comes right here, and he can swap the rooks. If I run, he takes the pawn. So I felt like I played a good game. It was just rushed because it just wasn't enough time to like think and work things out in an opening I haven't seen in over 10 years. But congratulations to Sidha on the win. It was a really fun game, and it felt good playing something different. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's absolutely free. Tell all your friends and family about it. Let's grow the channel. Thank you, YouTube. Have a nice day. Bye.